Alright everyone, I wanted to give some in-depth analysis on the Shawn Rhoden case that began in early July and is still ongoing. The accusation is said to actually have taken, or the event is said to have actually taken place in late 2018, October 12th of 2018. And I wanted to offer, as I am still currently in law school, I wanted to offer some in-depth analysis and just a little bit of logical thinking. We don't have much information on this case anyways. Shawn's been pretty quiet, as I know he has to be, on social media, so we're not going to get very many updates, but I appreciate Nick Strength and Power I mean, he put me on the story. I'm not that big of a bodybuilding fan. I just like to work out and I watch the videos on occasion. Big shout out to him for all the coverage he's been doing on it. I'm going to all the information I have, although I did do my own research and make sure all of it was accurate. Most of the research was first introduced to me because of Nick, so big shout out to you, dude. So just some facts on the case. Shawn is charged with rape, object rape, and forcible sexual assault. The victim is a female competitive bodybuilder, and the relationship between her and Rhoden at the time was that was mentoring her. And for some time, the name of the victim was unknown or just not released. We now know it is LKH is actually this woman right here.
Christian Duke, StrengthAddicts.com here at Gary Udit's 2018 NPC North American Championships. I'm here with
Chriselle Hymas.
So Chriselle Hymas is the KH, first name Lori Chriselle Hymas. So we now know the two subjects in this case. And if you've done your own research, and I think many people have, there's a rumor going around that she has been, in the past on some pretty bad, I guess she just doesn't have a clean reputation. But nonetheless, I'll save you the Google search on that. Her name does come up, and she was part of a fraud case between her and several other people. So anyways, I'm not here to talk about her. We're here to analyze the case. So the victim accuses Shawn of forcing herself on her and sexually assaulting her. And after fighting for herself and repeatedly telling Shawn to stop, she tells Shawn that he needs to let her go, or else the acquaintance that she is with in the downstairs hotel lobby will know that something is up. Now, it is unlikely, in my opinion, and again, rape cases are supposed to be taken seriously, as I am taking it serious right now, but it is unlikely that your rapist will let you go because he's afraid someone else is going to. It just doesn't make much sense, actually. Shawn Rhoden is, I mean, if you look at her, she's a tiny person. I mean, Shawn Rhoden can literally pick her up and throw her across the room. There is no reason, if you have just a mentor-mentee relationship, that there would be no reason to suspect something was up. That's just not a logical thing someone does. Now, if you're an acquaintance and you know that two people are having more than just a mentor-mentee relationship, then sure, you have probable reasoning for, oh, maybe is something going on, especially if you're close to that person and you know that they are. I understand at this point that Shawn Rhoden is not married, and I am not sure of the relationship status of the woman, but I believe she is married. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. These are two people who have partners with other individuals, that are partners with other individuals, and might be actually just having a very secret affair. In the same video right here that Nick has, we find out that the DNA sample found on the woman's body matches that of Rhoden. So, in the statement that is released by Shawn Rhoden today, which is his first time on social media in quite some time, he states that with the utmost confidence and sincerity that he is innocent of the crimes and that he has cooperated with law enforcement since the situation first arose. This DNA sample must have been taken shortly after the October incident when it occurred. So yeah, from the very beginning he's been cooperating with law enforcement. That does seem to add up still. A warrant for Shawn's arrest is made and then later vacated when Rhoden voluntarily turns himself in. Again, that just proves that he is fully cooperating with law enforcement, and it is also unlikely for a guilty individual, especially guilty of rape, to voluntarily subject themselves to DNA samples and to voluntarily turn themselves in. It's especially if you know you have no case. Uh, so I believe it is in this video or in the video that follows. Yeah. So we find out here that he has bail set at $750,000. That's a fine amount, but it is later reduced to $250,000. And in this video, Nick mentions that he's not sure what it means, but it surely has to mean something. And Nick's absolutely right. So the bail is there to make sure that a criminal defendant will show up to court. Bail can actually be denied, and if a judge deems an individual unlikely to return if released, then bail will be denied. Now, courts can actually push how high bail is set. So, if you're Epstein, if you're familiar with the Epstein cases, I believe bail was denied because he's a billionaire. And, the factors that are taken into account when determining bail are the severity of the crime. Now, Epstein would have, I'm not sure the exact charges that Epstein is in, that is facing, but they are very serious crimes, and and because he's a billionaire and surrounded himself with really powerful individuals, it is unlikely that any judge would grant him bail, because he is most likely able to pay, even if he set a $10 million bail, which is extremely high. It is unlikely that he will remain in the country or not try to flee if he is granted bail. So he was denied bail. Now, this isn't as serious as that, as the Epstein case involves a lot of minors, to say the least. And so Shawn's bail being reduced to $250,000 definitely means that the judge doesn't necessarily deem Shawn Rhoden to be a threat to the community, a threat of leaving the country. He actually might have been. We don't have this information, but it is possible that he could have been asked to surrender his passport, just as assurance that he would be unable to leave the country. He could be asked to submit to a drug test, to wear an ankle bracelet or any kind of monitoring device. These are all other options that a judge has in order to make sure that a criminal defendant is not trying to leave the state or the area in which they are permitted to be in, and show back up to court. Right here it also says that in October, I assume this took place in October, the nurse who conducted the exam on Lori, on LKH, the nurse says that she had a laceration on her vagina. Now, this, if you're unfamiliar with rape cases, this seems to be, a big issue. And while rape is certainly a big issue, a laceration on the vagina, because the tissue in the vagina is so delicate, it's not uncommon for this to occur during sex, or definitely the feeling, some sort of stinging, to occur on the vagina after sex. Now, if the cut is deep enough, like if to the point where there is pus, then yeah, that's a better indicator that rape took place. But as it says right here, that prosecutors, look for lacerations on the vagina to support a rape claim. Yeah, they're prosecutors. That's, they're supposed to look for support on whatever claim they are told to support. In cases of rape, if you're not, especially forced rape, and Shawn Rhoden, as I said earlier, overpowers this woman with ease, you should really look for on either on Shawn's body or the woman's body, any kind of laceration in the hand. Oftentimes women will like pretty much dig their nails into the man's skin and just start scratching for their lives. That's how rape works. It's very serious. Any kind of bodily harm, any kind of bruising, especially on the hands or on the face, that is a much stronger indicator, and that's definitely much more stronger to, if you have that evidence on a rape claim, something took place. Yeah, you were definitely overpowered. But so far that evidence seems to be lacking. So in the same video later on, Shawn is then banned for life from competing in the Mr. Olympia competition. Although unpopular, I personally believe that there is not much Shawn can do about this. Now, American media can always allow him back in if they so choose to do that, but because I assume Shawn is under contract and I mean, he's the Mr. Olympia. There's no way he's not under contract. American media reserves the right to terminate him or ban him for whatever reason, and for as long as they choose. And they really need no reason other than it's in the fine print of the contract that Shawn signs. So, if he's proven innocent, you have one of the most. I mean, everyone loved that Shawn beat Phil, right? So people really like that about him. But if they don't let him back and he's innocent, he's gonna go somewhere else. He's gonna compete somewhere else, I assume. So it's in American media's LLC best interest to let him back in if he is proven innocent. But that is a decision they make on their own. I mean, the way the contracts work is that they pretty much give American media in this situation as much power as Shawn Rhoden is willing to give them, given that he signs the contract, and that's just how contracts work. It is also released that Shawn passes 2 different lie detector tests, so that's right here. If you're familiar with the lie detector tests, now it is important to point out that these are 2 different types of lie detector tests, but it doesn't really matter. If you understand how they work, and he was questioned about whether the sexual act was consensual, this doesn't really prove anything, in my opinion. You definitely, if he would have failed both of these, it still is not enough to convict him of rape. It's just not. But in his defense, and if you're his defense attorney, this is definitely support that you have, as well as full cooperation since the very beginning, and not changing his story, and maintaining his innocence from the very beginning. So let's see. Shawn today, for the first time, releases a statement saying that he is innocent again, and that he's fully cooperating with law enforcement, and that seems to be the case. I believe he was even out at Gold's Gym today with Stanimal. Yep.
Guess who's back? Back again.
So he's definitely confident that he's definitely confident in himself, and that's what I love to see, really, because it is quite unfortunate that this situation occurred. Again, if Shawn is guilty, he needs to. If Shawn is guilty, then it is in the law's best interest to convict him.